Welcome to the Travel Podcast by ExcursionPass.
Glad to be here.
So today's deep dive is, well, it's about tackling the ultimate Washington, D.C. civic history experience. And we really want you to feel like you're right there with us.
Exactly. Because, experiencing the Library of Congress, Capitol Hill, the National Archives, it's a lot.
It is a lot. And right off the bat, I know what you might be thinking. You're probably having those high school field trip flashbacks, right?
Oh, the dreaded field trip anxiety.
Yeah. You're thinking, is this just going to be some dry, exhausting history lecture? Am I going to be dragging my tired feet across miles of concrete while someone just, recites dates at me?
Which is such a valid fear, honestly, because history can feel really heavy.
Totally.
Yeah.
But our mission today is to show you that it doesn't have to be boring. We're going to break down every detail so vividly, you'll feel like you're already walking those historic streets.
Right. And to do that, we're looking at two very distinct ways to explore this area based on, well, tons of traveler data and reviews.
So what's the blueprint here?
Well, we've got two paths. First, a highly rated, super high-energy small group tour run by USA Guided Tours. And second, this very exclusive, highly curated, private experience directly through ExcursionPass.
Perfect, to help you figure out exactly which vibe fits your travel style.
Exactly.
But before we even pick a tour, we really need to drop you right into the starting line of this whole journey to just set the mood,
Yeah, you have to understand the scale of what we're talking about.
Right. So imagine standing at the base of this massive mythological bronze sea god. It's the Neptune Fountain right outside the Library of Congress.
It's quite a sight.
It really is. Water is just cascading down all around you. You can feel the mist hitting your face. And as you look up, you are surrounded by, literally, the heaviest concentration of physical political power on the planet.
It really hits you all at once.
It does. It feels like you're standing at the starting line of a democratic marathon. You aren't just looking at pretty buildings. You're in the roaring engine room of American governance.
What's fascinating here is the deliberate architectural geography of it all.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Well, Pierre-Charles Enfant, he's the guy who designed the original layout of the city. He didn't just, scatter these buildings randomly.
Right.
When you stand at that fountain, you're looking at this physical, spatial manifestation of the Republic's core pillars. I mean, the Library of Congress, the Supreme Court, the Capitol Building, they are practically right on top of each other.
Just a super short walk between them?
Yeah.
But here's my question. Why design them to look so imposing?
Imposing is a good word for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's all neoclassical architecture. Those massive marble columns, the sweeping domes, those huge grand staircases. It feels so ancient Roman.
And that is precisely the point.
Really?
Yeah. The founders wanted to visually legitimize this brand new republic, so they mirrored the democratic ideals of ancient Greece and Rome.
Oh, wow.
They used all that massive marble architecture to project permanence and stability to a world that honestly thought this whole American experiment was just going to fail.
Okay, that makes sense historically, but with so many massive, iconic buildings packed into one area, how do these tours keep a visitor from just feeling totally overwhelmed by the sheer scale of it all?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right, because when I stand there, I feel like an ant. If you're overwhelmed, you aren't going to learn anything.
Which is exactly why tackling this alone is usually a mistake. The architecture is built to be imposing, so a good guide's job is to, well, humanize the marble.
Humanize the marble, I like that. So let's talk about the first way to do that. The USA Guided Tours option.
The high-energy, small group experience.
Exactly. So we're looking at a 4.5-hour walk here. And the logistics are really interesting. It's capped at a maximum of 12 people.
That number is very intentional.
Yeah, I mean, why 12? Why not 20 people to make more money? Or 5 for intimacy?
Because 12 hits this really specific psychological sweet spot for group dynamics.
How so?
It's large enough to generate that contagious group energy, shared laughs, collective gasps. But it's small enough that the guide doesn't have to scream at you through a megaphone.
Oh, I hate the megaphone tours.
Right. And you aren't just a faceless tourist in a herd. You can actually ask a question without feeling like you're interrupting a Broadway play.
That sounds ideal. And the price ranges from around $51 to $79, depending on your options. But the route they pack into this is just staggering.
It's a very full itinerary.
Yeah. You start at the fountain, you walk past the Supreme Court,
Yeah.
and then you actually go inside the Library of Congress.
The interior of the Thomas Jefferson Building.
Which, if you haven't seen it, it's insane. It looks like an elaborate, multi-story gilded jewelry box.
Yeah.
Just visually stunning.
Truly one of the most beautiful interiors in the city.
Totally. And then they take you into the U.S. Capitol Visitor Center. And this isn't just, walking down some generic hallway.
No, not all.
You hit the crypt, statuary hall, and the rotunda.
And those aren't just pretty rooms. They are basically architectural texts filled with these incredible secrets.
Okay, wait, let's pause right there. Let's talk about the crypt.
Let's do it.
Because when I hear crypt, my brain immediately goes to, well, a tomb. But nobody is actually buried in the U.S. Capitol, right?
Exactly. But it was originally designed to hold George Washington's body.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah. The architects literally constructed a tomb directly under the center of the Capitol building. They even built this viewing area where the public was supposed to come and look down at his resting place.
That is wild. So what happened? Why isn't he there?
Well, his family flatly refused.
Really?
Yeah, Washington's will explicitly stated he wanted to be buried at his home in Mount Vernon.
Oh, wow.
So today, you walk into this incredibly atmospheric subterranean space. It has these 40 massive Doric columns holding up the entire weight of the Capitol dome above.
It's just an empty tomb.
Basically, it's an empty tomb with a compass stone in the middle marking the literal center of the city.
See, that right there, that's the kind of aha moment that makes a guided tour totally worth it.
Exactly.
You go from just looking at a bunch of old stone pillars to realizing you're standing inside a rejected presidential tomb.
It completely changes your perspective.
It does. And then the tour moves upstairs to Statuary Hall, which has its own crazy secret. The sources highlight this bizarre acoustic anomaly.
Ah, yes, the famous whisper spot.
Explain this because it sounds like magic.
It's just physics, really. Because the room is shaped like a half dome, the sound waves travel along the ceiling in a very, very specific way.
Okay.
So you can stand on one precise spot on the floor, whisper quietly into the wall, and someone standing 50 feet away across a crowded, noisy room can hear you.
Like they're right next to you.
Exactly as if they were standing right next to you.
And John Quincy Adams supposedly used this to eavesdrop on rival politicians sitting across the room.
That's the legend.
I just love that. That completely changes how you experience the space. You're not just looking at bronze statues anymore, you're standing in an acoustic espionage trap.
It's brilliant history, but, as an analyst, I do have to point out the reality of absorbing this much information.
It's a lot to take in.
It is. Delivering that kind of engaging history for 4.5 hours requires serious stamina from the guide and honestly serious endurance from the traveler.
Which brings up the mental fatigue, right? I mean, are we just going to be following a boring guide with a flag on a stick while our feet ache?
Well, that's where the traveler reviews in our source data reveal something truly fascinating.
What did you find?
The reviewers almost never focus on the buildings. They focus intensely on the people leading them.
Yes. I saw this too. There's one guide in particular, a guy named Joey, another named Rocky, but especially this one guide named Nick.
Yes, Nick.
The reviews literally refer to him as the tour god.
Tour god. I mean, that is a massive title to live up to for a Tuesday morning walking tour.
Right. But reviewers are calling him this waterfall of knowledge with impeccable comedic timing. They talk about how his jokes were just endless, keeping the entire group laughing nonstop.
While still, effortlessly dropping facts about hidden gems.
Exactly, which is so much energy for a guide to maintain.
But it's crucial. If we connect this to the bigger picture, that comedic timing isn't just a fun bonus. It's actually a vital pedagogical tool.
Wait, humor is a teaching tool?
Absolutely. When you are 3 hours deep into a walking tour, your feet are aching, your brain is just saturated with dates and names, humor acts as a cognitive reset button.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Right. A perfectly timed joke spikes your dopamine, wakes up your prefrontal cortex, and basically primes you to actually absorb the next historical fact.
So the humor isn't a distraction from the history, it's the delivery mechanism.
Precisely. It transforms a grueling lecture into a genuinely engaging experience. But there is a strict caveat in the data for this option.
Right, the physical warning.
The operator explicitly warns that this tour requires a moderate physical fitness level.
Yeah, they don't sugarcoat it.
They bluntly state it's not recommended for travelers with back problems, heart problems, or serious medical conditions. You are hustling.
You are definitely hustling, which brings up a very natural counterpoint. What if I don't want to hustle?
What if you want to take your time?
Exactly. What if I want to go at my own pace, entirely, without sharing a guide with strangers? That leads us directly to the second method, the VIP, entirely private excursion pass upgrade.
Which is a fundamentally different philosophy of historical consumption.
It is. Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Logistics. It's a 4-hour experience. And it's priced at $600 for your private party.
That's a jump.
It's a huge jump. If the group tour is like going to a greatest hits concert with a really fun crowd, this private tour is like sitting in the recording studio with the artist.
That's a great way to look at it.
But as a traveler, I've got to ask you directly, for $600, what are you actually getting that you don't get on the $60 group tour? They go to the same buildings, walk the same floors.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you're paying for narrative curation and intellectual pacing.
Okay, unpack that for me.
The source material uses a very specific phrase, measured pace.
Measured pace.
Right. In a group tour, the schedule is the master. If you are fascinated by the massive fresco inside the Capitol Rotunda, the apotheosis of Washington, and you want to stand there for 10 minutes analyzing it, too bad. The group of 12 is moving on, and you have to run to catch up. But for $600, you own the time.
Okay, so I buy back my own time. But is the information actually different, or is it just the same stuff delivered slower?
Oh, it's fundamentally different because the true value here is the thematic connection. It becomes thematic rather than episodic.
What do you mean by episodic?
Well, a standard tour kind of treats the Capitol, the library, and the archives as 3 isolated photo stops. Boom, boom, boom.
Right, checking boxes.
Exactly, but the private excursion pass guide weaves them together into the specific cycle of a republic.
Oh, that's interesting. Walk me through that arc.
Sure. So you start at the U.S. Capitol, which is the chaotic engine of creation, right? Where the laws of the nation are debated, hammered out, and born.
Yep, the messy part.
Then the guide transitions you to the Library of Congress. And they explain this isn't just a room full of old books. It represents the vast repository of all human knowledge that is supposed to inform those laws.
Oh, wow. I never thought about it like that.
And finally, you conclude at the National Archives, where the final permanent records of the nation are secured.
So it's creation, knowledge, preservation.
Exactly. It's a tailored, deeper intellectual journey just for your single party. A curated narrative arc.
So it's not just a walking tour of tall buildings anymore. It's a private masterclass on the life cycle of American law.
And if you suddenly have a highly specific, obscure question, say, about the War of 1812 burning down the original library, the guide pivots the entire narrative to cater to your curiosity.
Because you don't have to worry about annoying 11 strangers.
Exactly. You cannot disrupt a group of 12 strangers to go down a 30-minute historical rabbit hole.
That makes total sense. That level of customization really justifies the 4-hour runtime, which actually reminds me of a genuinely hilarious glitch in the ExcursionPass booking data we uncovered.
Yes, the duration glitch.
This is so funny. For a while, the digital booking system showed the duration of this deeply intellectual $600 masterclass as exactly 4 minutes.
4 minutes. I mean, you would have to be an Olympic sprinter with a megaphone to pull that off.
Right. Just imagine meeting your guide at the Neptune fountain. You hand them $600, they point frantically and yell, "Laws are made there, books are over there, freedom is in that box, go, go, go."
And they just sprint down Independence Avenue.
240 seconds of pure democratic panic.
It certainly reframes the idea of a measured pace.
It really does. But jokes aside, thankfully, it is a full 4-hour experience. And it comes with a flexible cancellation policy, too.
Right. Full refund up to 1 day before the tour.
Okay, so we've got the dynamic comedic sprint for around $60 and the measured, highly intellectual masterclass for $600. But here is the grand finale.
The payoff.
Right. Regardless of which path you choose or what you pay, both of these routes drop you at the exact same finish line.
The room where the foundation was poured. The National Archives.
Exactly. Both tours end with reserved access into the archives. Now, the sources note this part is self-guided. The guide has built all the context. They leave you at the door, and now you're on your own.
At your own leisure.
And I really want to paint the picture of what this feels like because it is a jarring transition.
That's completely different from the rest of the day.
It is. For hours, you've been outside in the bright sun, looking at these colossal, intimidating marble columns and grand domes, and then you enter the archives.
It's very dark.
Yeah, the lighting is kept incredibly dim to protect the ink. The atmosphere is hushed. People are whispering. It feels like stepping into a sanctuary.
It's a profound shift in environment. You leave the heavy, noisy permanence of Capitol Hill and enter this highly controlled, almost reverent vault.
And there, encased in titanium and aluminum, filled with argon gas, sitting under thick sapphire glass, you are standing face to face with the actual physical constitution and the Declaration of Independence.
It's quite a moment.
So what does this all mean structurally? Why is ending at the archives the perfect narrative conclusion to a 4-hour walking tour? Why not just end under the massive dome of the Capitol building where all the action happens today?
Because the archives provide the ultimate distillation of the entire experience. Think of it like a computer.
Okay, fine.
For 4 hours, you've been out on the streets examining the hardware.
The marble buildings.
Right. The massive columns of the Supreme Court, the sprawling legislative chambers of the Capitol. The hardware is huge, it's heavy, it's permanent, and it's designed to withstand anything.
Right.
But when you walk into the dim light of the archives, you are no longer looking at the hardware. You're looking at the source code.
Oh, wow. Just ink and old animal skin.
Exactly. It forces you to realize that all of that massive, imposing architecture you just walked through is entirely dependent on the fragile, vulnerable ideas written on those pieces of parchment.
That is profound.
Without that delicate source code sitting in the dark, the heavy marble hardware is completely useless. It shows the fragile, written foundation that all the massive architecture was built upon.
That analogy perfectly captures it. You don't end the tour with the display of power. You end with the fragile ideas that keep that power in check.
Exactly.
It really hits home why this specific route, the Capitol, the library, the archives, is such a mandatory experience.
It ties everything together.
It really does. So to wrap this up and summarize the choice you have in front of you, if you want humor, dynamic group energy, and a tour guide to keep you laughing while you log serious miles on hard marble floors,
Then the USA Guided Tours small group option is your winner.
absolutely. But if you want a measured, deeply connected civic history masterclass just for your family, where you dictate the pace,
Then the private ExcursionPass upgrade is absolutely the way to go.
whichever you choose, you're going to have an unforgettable time. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive on the travel podcast by ExcursionPass.
It's been great.
Hopefully the next time you find yourself staring up at a massive marble column, you won't feel intimidated. You'll be fully prepared to hit the streets of D.C.
But this raises an important question to leave you with.
Oh,
Yeah, think about those final moments inside the archives. When you stand there looking at the Declaration of Independence, you are looking at physical parchment that has survived centuries of physical wear and political turmoil.
right?
Because it is a tangible object we can lock behind bulletproof sapphire glass.
True.
But as our modern government and our lives move entirely into the digital realm, into the cloud, how will future generations physically preserve and display the foundational documents of our era when there is no ink and paper left to put behind the glass?